Well, in this recording, we are going to talk about how aggregate output is measured in an economy. Before than that, certain key concepts that what is an amount, what is the total amount of goods and services which are produced in an economy? Say that is given by Y. What are the total amount of expenditures which people are going to make on the produced goods and services in the economy? Say that is aggregate expenditure. So where do you think equilibrium is going to lie? Equilibrium is going to lie at the point where the total amount which is produced in an economy is equal to the total amount of expenditures which people are going to make. Well, this makes sense. Okay. That is, it can't be that equilibrium can't happen at the point where the total amount produced is lesser than what people want to buy. And it also can't be the point where the total amount produced is more than what people want to buy. So at equilibrium, your total amount which is produced is equal to the total amount of expenditures which people in an economy are ready to make. Well, what we are considering in this very simple model is the model of closed economy. We are assuming that this is a closed economy. There are no net exports. Okay, there are no exports, no imports, nothing. And of course, there is no government. Okay, we are just assuming this. As we go on into more complicated models, we'll be allowing for government, we'll be allowing for net exports, and also at the same time, we are assuming that prices and interest rates are fixed. What we are going to do in the subsequent recordings is that we're going to let all of these assumptions fall, and then we're going to see that how economy is going to behave. But for this part of the recording, we're just going to assume this, that there are prices and interest rates are fixed. This is a closed economy, no exports, no imports. There is no government in this economy. So, who are the people who are going to buy for our goods and services? Who are going to buy goods and services which are produced in this economy? There are consumers who are going to buy goods and services in the economy for the satisfaction of their wants, their needs. And there are firms who are going to invest, okay, and they're going to buy these goods and services to increase the productive capacity in the economy in future. Okay, so firms are going to buy these goods and services for increasing the productive capacity in the future, which we termed as I, that is investment. So who are going to buy our goods and services? Consumers and firms. Okay, so we can write basically that aggregate expenditure is basically equal to C plus I. Now, remember this, that in macroeconomics, somebody's expenditure is somebody's income. So, and what is a total expenditure? Total expenditure is the total amount of and at equilibrium, total expenditure is C plus I, and that should be equal to the total amount of goods and services which are being produced in the economy. Okay, so that expenditure, when somebody is making this expenditure, that should turn out to be an income for somebody. So at equilibrium, your expenditure should be equal to income. And also remember one thing, one of the major fact that as far as consumption is concerned, that when your income is rising, consumption also rises. Okay, but probably not to a fuller extent. Say for example, your income rises by 100, your consumption might rise by 80. Okay, so it is not increasing by full 100. And this factor is called MPC, that is the change in consumption which is occurring due to the change in income. Okay, so MPC, this is marginal propensity to consume. Okay, when there is an increase in income, when there is a unit increase in income, how much of that unit increase you're going to consume? Okay, and that is lesser than 1. You're not going to consume everything of that unit increase in income. And how do you write this consumption function? Say, for example, you might write a consumption function as A plus BY. Okay, so this A is basically the amount of consumption which will happen even when Y is equal to 0. So when Y is equal to 0, there would be some amount of consumption. You're not going to consume, of course, you will be consuming something even if your level of income is 0. So at 0 level of income, there is going to be some amount of consumption. Okay, and then as your income increases, you will be consuming more. Okay, as your income rises, you'll be consuming more, and this is your C equals to A plus BY curve. Okay, so, and this part of the consumption function is called autonomous consumption, which is independent of the level of income. Okay, so what we have learned so far is that at equilibrium, Y is equal to aggregate expenditure. We have assumed three things: that it is a closed economy, there is no government, prices and interest rates are fixed. Who are going to buy your goods? Firms are going to buy your goods for increasing their productive capacity in future, and consumers are of course going to buy your goods. Uh, in macroeconomics, somebody's expenditure is equal to somebody's income, and when income is rising, the consumption is also rising, but by a lesser amount than an increase in income, and this is called MPC. Okay, and when you draw a consumption function, you find out that when even at zero level of income, there is some amount of consumption which is independent of the level of income. Say you when you were a kid, okay, you're not earning anything, while your parents are actually helping you out to consume. So even when your income was zero, you are consuming something. So that is called autonomous consumption. Okay, and this part of the consumption function, which is dependent on the level of income. Okay, and this b is nothing but the slope of the consumption function, which is nothing but MPC, which is the slope of consumption function. Okay.